Welcome, everyone, to day one of Blue Talk's Amplify Your Message. And I'm just going to get the energy going this time, just a little bit, because I have to say that my watch is telling me that I have a very stressful day. And I'm like, I'm curious whether or not my watch is going to say that I have gained battery life, because I love this show. I love these people. I love the stories, like the co-hosts. It's magic to me. I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. Then I'm going to ask Monique to tell us a little bit about her so that we know where she's coming from with her questions today. And then we'll bring on our first guest. So for those who have never met me, my name is Laura Lake, and I stand for courageous connection. And what people think that they want is to be seen and heard and understood. Yet underneath it all, what we're really feeling is that pain of disconnection. And so in business, we want to share our stories and we want to connect, but we tend to disconnect because we're avoiding all the things our audience is actually feeling and thinking and their habits. And so I just want us to courageously connect with that old version that is a response and a mirror to the people that we're trying to serve. So that's where I'm coming from. Monique, tell us a little bit about you, and I'll double check that we're actually live everywhere.
Okay. Laura, thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be your co-host. I actually have spent some time on the show as well. And it is about that. It is about telling our stories and our connections. And connection is really important to me. I am a physician. My full name is Monique Nugent. And I'm a physician. I'm a practicing hospitalist, meaning that I only see patients in the hospital. And that's really where stories are key. And connecting is key. When people are really down, sometimes feeling the worst they felt in a while, scared about the thing that's coming next, the ability to get your story, the ability to connect with you, not only is tantamount to how well we're going to form this therapeutic bond and we're going to go through this journey together, but it helps me so much to understand the whole person, not just the problem, right? Not just like the infection, not just the cancer, the whole person who's experiencing this. And so I'm excited to be part of this and get some more stories and participate. So thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's always a delight, Monique. So we're going to
Oh,
bring up our
okay.
first guest, Marcy, who is behind the scenes. Marcy, just give me a thumbs up if you're ready to join us. Welcome to the stage. We were
Hi,
having quite
Marcy.
the laugh right before we went live.
There's always got to be time for laughter in all the work that we do.
Definitely. So I don't know if you know my secret to all my interviews yet as I get my pen ready, because I don't like typical interviews. I just don't want to hear your elevator pitch because I just feel like they drown out the human being, okay,
Mhm.
many times. So what I like to do is I like to shake it up a bit, and I want to get to know who Marcy is first. Before we learn anything else, I have this big question that I ask. So are you ready, Marcy, as I get Marcy?
All right,
Yes.
sister,
Tension.
send it to me. I'm ready.
Okay, here's the question. If you could have other people describe you in 3 words, what would you love those 3 words to be?
Warm, approachable, hilarious.
Those are
You were
great words.
prepared.
No, I just, approachable is my number one,
Yeah.
right? And there has to be warmth with that. And when we think about it, the best times of our lives are when we're laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
So
Yeah.
if I can be a little part of that and make people laugh, then I will sacrifice my own dignity at times for that.
So did you hear about this question? Did you
No,
study for this?
sister. No, listen, Laura, I spend a lot of time thinking about these things. Writers are contemplative folks. And I'm very committed to self study.
Mhm.
And so I do think a lot about how I want to show up in the world, what quality I want to bring into a room, what
Um,
impression I want to leave when I go, right? And like I'm all about making friends, speaking
When
from the
when
heart.
did you realize that that was so important to how you move through the world, being that conscious about who you are when you're in the room and, like you said, the feeling you've left behind you?
Oh gosh, you are hitting me with the most personal thing right out of the gate.
Yep.
The last 3 years have been the most transformative in my life personally. Some of the hardest. I moved from my hometown, my family, my friends to buy a house on my own as a divorced woman. And I couldn't do so in the real estate market I was living in. So I had to leave. Around the same time, I started to focus on renovating this cute little house that I bought. And I had less time for some of my old friendships. And I came under attack from some of those friends for not being as available as I once was. Then I moved to a new town, of course, where I knew no one. I was renovating a house, which was terrifying with the help of my brother. I paid him, just to be clear. But there were so many unknowns. And I realized that I had sort of parked my personality or my identity, if you will, for the last 20 some years in everything that is familiar. And so when that rug of familiarity was pulled out from under me, there was a lot of, I'm going to say this word, loneliness. There was a lot of loneliness and a lot of fear. I actually think my next book might be about loneliness. I'm so fascinated by this topic. When I say loneliness, the image that comes up immediately is like the loner, the loser, the one with no friends, the lone gunman, if you will, you know. But I think everybody experiences loneliness. And I had to wade through these 3 years, which were an enormous amount of change for me, and say, who am I when everything that's familiar is peeled away? And how do I want to rebuild this personality? Because I had based it on something that was really not that true or substantial. And so when you ask me, Monique, that is the most personal question right out of the gate. How did I become who I am now? It was through loss, pain, rejection, and loneliness. And the person sitting here with you today is so happy and so at peace. But man, I waded through it. I really did to be here right now.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you have shown the transformative power of those things that like we seek so hard in our lives to avoid, right? Like outside of the gym, we don't think that pain is gain.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a great point. I have a friend, one of our authors, Greg Gregorian, talks about the 5 crucibles. He believes we have 5 crucibles, mental, physical, emotional, financial. I forget what the other one is, maybe intellectual. He believes we have a crucible that we must go through. And I remember always being surprised when something went wrong. Like, whoa, why are things not just rolling along beautifully? And I have a different perspective on it now. I'm not a pessimist. It's not like, oh, things are going to go wrong. The wheels are going to fall off the bus. No. Now I'm prepared. Now I go, wow, life is this dance, or if you wanted to, it's up and down the hills. And it's okay. And when we know that that's kind of how life goes, it's, maybe it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Now we're prepared. I'm prepared to be thrown off balance, right? And because now I know that I can rebuild, I can overcome. And pain, yes, pain is helpful when you're in it. You're like, I don't like this. I don't like this, right? But it's so helpful for us to find peace, to find joy, to find gratitude, and also to push the limits of what we think we can do and who we think we can be.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome.
I
I'm
love
sorry,
that
Laura.
no. I love that you're like, I'm in it. Good. I'm so happy. Very happy.
Yeah.
So
Marcy gave me no choice, okay? Because I can't lie. I cannot lie.
I love that you brought it around to, this is why I'm prepared, because you answered that first question, probably the quickest of anybody that I know that has never heard the question before. Some people answered quickly, but they already knew the question, so they were prepared. But I also loved that you narrowed in exactly where I like to have conversations with my clients. because they talk about stories. We all know that stories are very important. As a writer, you tell your clients too, stories are very important. But you hit on those emotions that you felt in the deepest, darkest, most horrible struggle moment that you could think of. But now I want to challenge you, because I already know you know the answer to this. If we think of those words that you used, and I wrote them down, the loss, the pain, the rejection, the loneliness, what are the equal and opposites that now you feel because you went through the trenches, because you actually learned instead of somebody giving you the answers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's really a reclamation of self. I think as a little girl, I really knew who I was. And I was giggly and silly and funny and a bouncing little jumping bean. And then I became fearful. At the first sign of criticism, that's the wolves at the door. As soon as your hair reaches your shoulders, people are saying, who's your boyfriend? Do you have a boyfriend? You're defined in such a way as a woman by how attractive are you and who can you attract? And you bounce around for several years. And then there comes a time where you go, gosh, I remember her. She was hilarious. She was clever. She was fun. And I found her again. And that feels peaceful. And it feels so optimistic and reassuring and bold. I feel bold. And also on the other side of that, I have some boundaries now, which I may not have had before, because when you're a love warrior, right? You're a love
Mm-hmm.
warrior like we all are. We go through life loving people as best as we can. Sometimes you sacrifice that self-love in order to love other people really well. And I was certainly guilty of that. And when I said, oh, no, keep pouring into the tank, keep pouring into the tank. The more you pour in, the more love you have to go around. And that requires saying no. And that requires giving up things maybe that other people wanted you to do or how they wanted you to be. Then you just have way more. Now I feel in so many ways like life is just beginning.
Yeah. I think
How
that,
has Okay,
sorry.
one question.
Yeah, no, I think
Okay.
what you said is like the parallel. I have three little girls right now. And the youngest is 3, and she has nothing but boundaries.
Teach me.
Right? She's, no, that's not what I want. That's not what I said. You can't come here. Don't touch this. Leave me alone. I want to take a nap. She has nothing but boundaries. But I see that she's also nothing but like joy. And I wonder, like, as women, as we grow up, how much do we give up our inner joy because we've given up our boundaries?
Yeah.
Right? So like if I'm constantly poking at her, you see it. She starts crying. She's upset. She's immediately uncomfortable. But we're taught to like grin, bear it, be ladylike, be a mother, be a wife, be a sister, be a daughter, which means that you're a caretaker. But you're like poked at over and over again. And that hurts. And so
Yeah. I mean, don't they call it the second shift, right? You can be a working woman, but then your whole second shift is care of the home, care of the meals, remembering birthdays. There's an emotional psychological weight that's involved
Yep.
in being a woman that has been identified as the second shift, meaning it doesn't matter how many hours you're putting in at your job, you still have another full-time job that you're doing all the time.
Yeah.
And you're right, when we are constantly being poked at, and because we've been labeled as the nurturers and the caregivers, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm wearing a frilly pink dress today because I love femininity. I love my femininity. But we also have to remember that being feminine is also being the wise matriarch, right? And femininity is, being the goddess. That's when I say goddess to you, that evokes something different than caretaker,
Yeah.
right?
And that is also boundaries, right? Like you
Yes.
don't cross the queen. There's a way that you interact
Yeah.
with a queen,
Yeah.
right? If you're going to come here, you have to present yourself. You know that she's going to have expectations. She's going to have boundaries. It's the same thing. Like there's no movie where like Athena was like, hey, everyone just come on in and do whatever you want. And it was like, no, I'm Athena. I'm the goddess of love, beauty, all things wonderful. You will act accordingly.
Yeah.
I have a boundary. And I think we lose
Yeah.
that. This is really awesome.
Well, I think, and right, because as soon as we start to assert ourselves, we're unpleasant. It's like, oh, that, crabby woman, or there's worse words for it, and yet, other people can go around setting boundaries and speaking up for themselves, and they're just going about their day. So I do love that. I always think about, like, this is dating me, but I channel my Claire Huxtable. Do you
Oh,
remember?
she had a lot of
Do
boundaries.
you remember?
Yes.
Oh man, she was the best, right? And I just, as a mom, as a leader in the home, I think, oh no, 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 no. Where do you think you're going with that? My
Yes.
kids are now all in their 20s. I have 3 kids in their 20s, and when they come here, you're in mom's house. And mom has ways that she does things. And yeah, I'm your mother, but you're in your 20s. You're a guest. You're a guest in my home. Act accordingly, right? And you don't have to say a lot. You
Yeah.
do not have to say a lot. It's a power that you carry. It's something that comes from within. And when you feel it, other people know it without, it's like certain people wouldn't approach you for certain things. Certain men wouldn't say certain things to you because of the way you carry yourself. You don't have to say anything to them. They wouldn't dare come to your door with some kind of expression. And that's just something that you embody. It's an energy that you hold. And that's something I've been having a really good time playing with.
I want to pause just for a moment to like reframe everything that we just talked about, because it's a lot and I could dive so much deeper. But yet, at the same time, okay, Marcy, you told us a lot about your past and divorcing, your friends going, you're not the same person that you were before. And all of the mental shifts that you had to go through to get to where you are. We mentioned writing. Can you reframe a little bit of that story into sharing what is your message? Like, what are you trying to share with people so that we can kind of have something that we can go copy paste and tell other people?
Well, I mean, on a personal note, my message is the title of my book.
Oh,
yeah. And so my book is called, I've got it right here.
yeah.
It's just a little book, 100 pages. Okay. It's not going to necessarily change your life, but my message is, beautiful humans, there's nothing wrong with you. And so this book is all about self-responsibility for healing, but it's also about abundance versus lack. I don't need another person to tell me that I have to be prettier, thinner, smarter, make more money, whatever. And so my book, which is about your responsibility to self-heal and show up with love, it starts from a place of you are enough, and all the messages you've heard to the contrary are wrong. You need to start right there, right? Be Monique's 3-year-old daughter. I know who I am. I know what I want.
Yeah.
And go out into the world and build on that instead of comparing, letting people tell you you're not enough. So you don't get a job. So you don't get the person you wanted to date. So you're not making the money you want to make. None of that is a reflection of your inner worth. Right? Those are outer circumstances that we have the power to change. The thing that is unmutable is the self-worth component. And that's what I'm all about, is holding up a mirror to, for example, in our company, every writer that we work with who comes to us writing a memoir, a thought leadership book, or whatever it is they're writing, say, you've got it all. Now go deep and bring it out so we can put it into a format where others can receive the communication.
Yeah.
Period.
It kind of sounds like we're in a relationship and I have thoughts and I'm not sharing my thoughts with you. I'm just expecting you to read my face. You're like, I just don't get it. No, we need to pull it out of your brain. Either through your mouth, through your hand, like through something.
Yeah.
Into a tangible form for everybody else.
Yeah. I think I'm also a writer. I also wrote a book. And my book is called, I'll do my shameless plug, Prescription for Admission. But it took me a long time to write the book because I felt like I had something to say, but I didn't feel like I was worth the to say it. You know what you were saying, like, you're good enough. There's nothing wrong with you, and you would think like your book is about helping patients and family members, and that's what you do in your day to day. And I'm like, yeah, but there's like someone else on TV who wrote it, and she's like, she's thinner and she's on TV and, so like, uh, but like, and I worked with a writing company who did the same thing. And I think I probably should have paid them like more out of my flex spending for mental health and therapy because they spent more of their time
Uh-huh.
correcting my feelings of doubt and self-worth than my commas and capitals and grammar, right?
Mhm.
And they spent more time being like, no, 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 you can do it. Pull it out of you. Put it down. You're worth it. People will get something from it, and I don't know what it is. It's, what you were saying, like you're enough. You're enough. Put it down. You have worth and experiences. Write it. Other people will benefit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what we experience. My business partner, Alex, and I, every writer that we work with, we do have to spend some time dealing with imposter thoughts. I'm not going to call it syndrome because it's
No,
not a permanent condition.
no,
It
it's not.
is imposter thoughts and they can be corrected. But really, we do see a remarkable level of healing that takes place during the book writing process, overcoming. It can be healing of traumas. We're not psychologists, they write it out. Invariably, the person who starts the book with us and finishes it in 6 to 8 months, some people take a year if they know ahead of time they've got a busy life. They're a very different person at the end of the process than they were at the beginning. And that's really a beautiful thing to see.
So then what you should be telling all elementary schools and high schools is that over the course of the year, it is mandatory for you to write some personal stories, even if you don't have to share it with your teacher.
Yeah, for sure. But I do think sometimes, the English programs in school do a disservice. We have one writer who came to us and said, I want to write a book, but I haven't even finished high school. And his book is turning out brilliant. He's also a multimillionaire, so he's figured a few things out. We have another writer who came to us and said, hey, I've been running banks for 30 years. I've only done bullet points and emails. I don't know how I can write a book. His book turned out beautiful. So I think for me, I was one of the lucky ones where my English teacher took her magic wand and tapped me on the shoulder and said, you're a great writer. But lots of times, if you aren't told that, or like you really can't write, it's very unfortunate because what we're finding is anyone can write. And not only that, but like explore your voice. This is why we have so many voices. This is why my playlist in my car is different than your playlist and your playlist, because different voices resonate with each of us. And so that's why everyone should write a book. Everyone should do it because you don't know who is going to be moved by your voice. And why would you want to take that away, miss that opportunity for connection?
Oh, on that note of English teachers, since you brought it up, I remember very clearly, because to me, this was like a mini traumatic, not high traumatic, but mini traumatic moment for me. I was not very good at writing summaries, okay? Because to me, everything was important because of the way that my brain works. I play movies in my head. If I don't have enough details to play a movie, it goes in one ear and out the other, okay? So my summary was 7 pages. I get my assignment back from the teacher, and at the top in the red pen that they used to use, it says, you will never be a writer.
Oh.
And this was probably 2 years after I made the finals for a poetry contest. And then I sent the very last final submission to the wrong address. And I have no idea if I would have won or not.
Oh, ouch.
So I went from thinking that I was a good writer to I will never be a writer.
Wow.
And so I didn't write for like 20 years because of that teacher.
So mean.
Yeah.
And then we meet people like you, Marcy, who are like, you can do it. And then we're like, wait, what? And then we pour it all out, and that old version of us is gone.
It's not even so much that they want to do it or that you want to do it. Sorry, Monique, I'll go real quick. It's that we know that therapeutic journaling or expressive writing heals. It actually can heal physical symptoms in your body. This is what Dr. James Pennebaker from University of Texas, all of his research was about. He did this in the 80s and 90s. And Andrew Huberman has a whole 2-hour episode on Dr. Pennebaker's work. And so we know that writing out your stories is incredibly healing, not just for your mental health, but for your physical health. And I think what people need to remember is it doesn't matter if it gets read or not sometimes. It's about the experience of writing it out and telling your story, the freedom. It's like my daughter always had a diary. And I knew where it was kept. I knew it was kept between her mattress and her box spring. And do you know that I never once opened my daughter's diary? Never once. I always knew where it was.
Speak to my mom.
Oh, your mom, that is a no, right? Because you need this safe space to express, right? And we don't need to know. It's none of our damn business. And then if the writer decides they want to share their story, that's when you bring a developmental editor like me in, or a book coach. Okay, now you're ready. And that's the thing. But this is what I would say to all of you listening today. Just write your damn book and you can decide later whether you want to share it, right? Anyway, sorry, Monique, I cut you off way back when.
No, you didn't. I was just responding to that really hurtful statement from your teacher, because writing is also a skill, and you change. It's something that as you do it, you get better with time. Your style changes. You find your voice. You find your voice in different settings.
Yeah.
Right. So I write nonfiction. But the voice I use for my nonfiction writing is very different than the voice that's in my journal. And so like to tell a child, you'll never, I'm sorry.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
but I'm just like, how many have heard that though?
Well, in my experience, a lot of people do come to us and say, I'm no good. I can't write. I can't spell. People are so hung up with spelling and grammar and things like that. And we're like, oh my gosh, we have Grammarly. We have Grammarly. We have spell check. Like, just relax. But the ideas, this is what I'm more interested in, is the free flow of ideas and expression. And the thing that's the most fun is finding your voice. How it is you express. That's the most fun for a writer, because everybody kind of starts out mimicking their favorite authors. Or, if you're a doctor like Monique, you're like, I better sound pretty doctory here. All the other doctors I've ever heard. But then it's those voices that are so authentic that you can't deny. Like, that's where the connection comes from, is that authenticity in the voice. You guys floored me with your opening questions here. And I had no choice but to be incredibly authentic. And that's the parts where people are leaning in, right? And I mean, I can sit here and talk about the benefits of writing all day, but really it's about the writer and the experience they're going through and finding the voice to tell their story in a manner that feels so true to them. And that's really where I think the changes in our brain occur, for sure.
So why writing? Why not be a speaker or a singer or an artist or, I don't know, anything else?
Well, I actually, grew up wanting to be Carol Burnett. All my friends would sit in the snowbank. They would all sit in the snowbank at recess, and I would act out Mrs. Wiggins, and my friends would laugh. And that's really what I wanted to do, was comedy. But comedy doesn't pay, and comedy's pretty subjective. And but I always wrote, and I always told stories. And I was the person who spent hours and hours in her bedroom on her bed, either reading or writing. And so I've done a lot of things, including raised 3 children. And I was a yoga and meditation teacher for a long time, a trainer of other yoga and meditation teachers, really studying Eastern religion, or Eastern health, I should say, not so much religion. And I loved all of that. And I had a beautiful little yoga studio in my home where I mostly worked with people in chronic pain, doing restorative yoga and fascia release. And then the pandemic hit. And I remember I went to visit my brother-in-law, Dave, who is one of my closest friends, my sister's husband. And he was in career counseling entrepreneurship at the time. And I said, what do I do now? And he said, it's obvious. Write your book. And I was like, no, who wants to hear it? And so this book that I wrote, it didn't have an editor. I threw it together. It's probably a 7 out of 10, knowing what I know now about how to put together a book. Some of the ideas I stand by, but it's sloppy. It's a little bit, the structure is a bit loose. But that really changed everything for me, because writing a book was so isolating and slow, and I didn't have feedback. And when I came during the pandemic, this is where I met my business partner, Alex Moore, in a high-end coaching program. I was doing a ton of mindset training and sales training. He was there. He had a podcast called Almost Enlightened. So as a courtesy to this man in this training, I thought, I'll listen to a couple episodes of his podcast. Well, it was hands down some of the best writing I'd ever heard in my life.
Aww.
And so in this group, we would get together online at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. We would study Napoleon Hill, Thomas Troward, and the like. And so Alex and I had an appointment online to meet and discuss and study these works. Well, we get online and I said, I listened to your podcast. I really like it. I have a little bit of feedback on one episode. Do you mind if I give that to you? And he was like, no, please, please. So I gave him feedback. I said, you floated this idea. You didn't really close the loop on it for me in a satisfactory way. And he's like, who are you? And then I said to him, I wrote a book, and it was not a great experience despite having an honors English literature degree and being a trained journalist. Writing a book was hard. So if it's hard for me, it must be hard for other people. And I said, Alex, will you create a company with me to help people write books? And he did not hesitate that morning at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning. He said, yes, let's do it. And that's almost 5 years ago. And we work with anywhere from 8 to 12 authors at a time. And the books keep getting finished. And Alex is like me. Everything is heart-based. Our business is completely heart-based. We have to make sure the writer is okay, that the writer feels loved, supported, safe, because I believe when we feel safe, then creativity can really flow. And so that's why books, that's why writing, because I love them. They're my friends. I revere them. They're my greatest educational tool. But I also think writing is such a gift, right? And so, I'll never tire of it.
You were speaking my language the way that you were talking about book writing. I was like, yes, this is everything that I want from the people in this community. My heart hurts because it's like swelling all at the same time with joy and love, not hopefully anything else.
Well, either that or we're just all book nerds, Laura, on this call.
You know what? I didn't read my first chosen, not school demanded of me, but chosen novel until I was 20, 21. I was an Archie Comics and Nancy Drew girl.
Nothing wrong with that.
Drew
was amazing.
That's a novel.
She had a lot of drama going on. Archie's Comics had a lot of drama. So many interesting triads.
I used to read the Babysitter's Club. Remember that series? And my mom said that she would hear me laughing and carrying, this Sarah, like she's like it was almost as if you were just chatting with friends, the way you were just pulled into those books. And I loved them, and they become your friends. They become a world that you can think of, and how did they navigate that? And I remember when they did that. So
Before I ask you where to find you, I just want to add the power of books in here. Oh, and Andrea said, love this chat, fellow bookworms. Fellow bookworm.
She is a huge, hi Andrea, she's a huge bookworm, that one.
Nice. So the one thing that I wanted to share, just to make you laugh a little bit, was my mom bought us horse riding tickets because they were like Groupon type things. So we went horse riding, and the first thing they asked was, does anybody know how to ride a horse? And I like half very kind of cautiously raised my hand, and they're like, what's your experience? I'm like, I read the Saddle Club books. And they were like, okay. And then they put me on a horse, and I could ride the horse because I read the book.
Ah,
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's hilarious, right? Because to book readers, we're living the experience. We're going through it. That's why I'm very careful with books with trauma and books with violence and all these things. Like I'm in it. Like my body does not differentiate what's real and what's imaginative when I'm in a book, right? And so I'm so careful about it. And you two were talking about your first books. Of course, I poured through the Scholastic Book Club order when I was in school, and like my mom and dad indulged me in every book I wanted to purchase. But for me, the biggest thing was vacations at my grandmother's houses, because both of them had entire stacks of Harlequin romance books. And so I was 13, 14 years old, like way too young. And my sister and I just devouring these Harlequin romance books. And oh my gosh, we laugh now when we think back to it. Like our grandmothers didn't even care. They're just like, yeah, those are some good romance stories. Have at it.
In a minute, I'll share a story, but I want to be mindful of time to like with the interview thing. So I'm like, daughter's name as a reference. Okay, so before we run out of time, Marcy, can you tell us where to find you and your favorite way to communicate?
Oh gosh. Okay. So of course you can find us at our website, workingwritersco.com. And there's about 4 or 5 places on that website to click and book a Calendly chat with me and Alex. Okay. Like book your 30 minutes. Okay. So that's super easy. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can email me, marcy@workingwritersco.com. But my favorite way to connect is through Instagram chat. Right. Like I just love that when people send me a chat, they see something on our Instagram, comment on it, leave a voice memo. I'm all about the voice memos. I love that. If you want, the quickest way to get access to me is to leave me a voice memo and be like, I was thinking about what you said. And by the way, I think I have a book. And I just love that. I'm all about that. I do voice memos constantly. So you can reach us. So our Instagram's Working Writers Co. Everything's Working Writers Co. As in writing that works. We put you to work when you're writing. I don't know, any combination of those words you want to use. But let's be honest. Writing is not a walk in the park. It is a discipline. It is a craft. And so, I always say it's 10% inspiration, 90% craft, or the act of writing is the act of applying the seat of the pants to the seat of the chair. At some point, you got to show up and do the work. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have about a minute and a half left. I'd love to leave space at the end of an interview, just in case there's something on your mind or in your heart that you wanted to share. So what would you love to leave people with?
I would love to, and I think, as I say, this might be a theme for an upcoming book. I would like to say, if you're feeling lonely, I want you to try to remove the shame, the stigma that's around loneliness, and just accept, as I have, that it's part of the human condition. That sometimes we feel hungry, sometimes we feel lonely, and just get on with the business of living, right? And as opposed to dwelling there and living in that stigma that has come along with that word. That was my greatest transformational moment in my most recent years that I explained to you, is just owning that loneliness and not running from it, not feeling like it was a hot stove I didn't want to touch. And I think when you do that, that is really where you start to overcome, you start to change.
Aw, I love that. So I will call this moment the official close of the main portion of the interview. But I do invite you to stay for the next 4.5 minutes or so, because I like to use this space as a fun way to give you easy stuff for social media, but also as a recap of what stood out to you during our conversation. So I'm going to start with Monique right now. Monique,
Yeah.
what's something that stood out to you during our conversation with Marcy?
Like I said earlier, the fact that you showed that pain, loneliness, um, change comes out sometimes with a better version of you, right? Rebuilding ourselves. And I'm in this place. I'm currently in this like sandwich generation experience, like little kids, older parents, um, trying to be me, figure out who I am and build my career. Um, and I can think back to different points where I felt lonely in my motherhood, where I felt, lonely in my career, um, and the change that came from it, right? What you said about loneliness, um, because it's not just a lone wolf person who like can't make friends and is awkward at the gym. You can be lonely in different aspects of who you are. Lonely in your marriage, right? Lonely in your friendships, lonely in something. And then hunker down, slog through it, like you said, and come out with a change for the good. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
What about you, Marcy? What's something that stood out to you?
Well, you two really, put me to task right out of the gate here. But I love it because there's nothing I love more than a heart-led conversation that's honest and authentic. And you both really pulled me right into that space immediately. And so this has been very worthwhile. And I think that if people feel they don't have enough of this in their lives, to seek it out, just to, find people that they can be this honest and real with. And don't waste a minute of your life pretending you've got it all together, pretending that, everything is okay. Instead, connect with people, and they get something in return when you share.
We very much do. Because I was just checking my watch because I'm like, how's my body battery? Did I did I gain
I hope I've improved your experience according to your watch, Laura.
It has slowed down. I have moments of excitement, but had slowed down the amount of draining. So I knew it.
Okay, I'm gonna take that as a compliment. Hey, Monique, let's take
I
that
love
as a
it. Yes.
compliment. We
Yeah,
purged her
I'm
battery.
like, I wonder what it's going to be like by the end of the day of the 5 interviews. So, okay, what's something that stood out to me? A couple things. One was, for some reason, I did not put together that writers would be very deep thinkers. I'm like, of course, now that you said it earlier, I'm like, duh. But as a whole, the type of people who like to write tend to be those people that can do a lot of the internal processing. I cannot do a whole lot of internal processing. I have to like get it out of me and then put it back in. So I like the process of writing for that. Very enjoyed that insight. The second thing was that story about my daughter's name. So you mentioned that you went to your grandmother's house and she had a bunch of the Harlequin romance novels.
Yes.
I've never read one, and that you were quite young. My daughter is named after a book series and a video game. But the book series is, here's the best way to describe it: Game of Thrones meets 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, wow.
And I told her, I was like, okay, I have the book with you on the front. I invited the author to our local convention, sci-fi convention, got the book signed by the author, and told her she can have it on her 16th birthday,
Oh, that's so
which is
cool.
coming up in a few months. So she's all excited.
Oh,
That's so cool.
She's tried to test and read a book. Driver's test, because she'll
I
be.
think shows you great. Well, you know what? There's room for we all have to. That's the great thing about writing, is it does expand our own minds and our own self-reflection as well, right? So she's going to grow through that experience, just as we have grown through certain books that we've read, right? And and just to respond to you, I didn't think of writers as deep thinkers. Writers are always looking for patterns. They're always looking for ways to summarize and categorize our experiences, to reflect culture back to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what writers do. And so thank goodness for writers.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes they'll capture the collective consciousness in a book. And those are the books that everybody talks about, or the books that are banned that people want to burn, right? When you hit a nerve, right?
Oh yeah. When you hit a
So
nerve,
I'm
people.
here for all of it. I really,
Aw.
really am.
Do you want to say hi to your business partner before?
Oh, sure. I
Alex,
see him
just
all the
give
time.
me a thumbs up if you're ready. Okay, good. Say hello, and then we'll say goodbye to Marcy.
Hey, Marcy, how are you?
Hi, buddy. I'm great. These two are pressing interviewers. They got
I'm
some
supposed
big
to warn him.
questions. I'm
Awesome.
sorry. So have a great time, buddy. You're going to love every minute with these two. I sure did.
Fabulous. Good stuff. Well, great to see you, Marcy, and we'll catch up later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye, Marcy.
Bye. Thank you, girls. I'm looking forward to the interview, seeing it when it
It was
comes out.
great. It was great to chat with you, Marcy.